Hello, 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 and good evening, my dear friends. It is wonderful that we're going to spend time again together. I'm very excited to be with you, and I've picked a very fun topic to play with this evening, which is all about tapping into your genius. So, when I looked it up, what does it mean to be in your genius? The Webster definition is that it's a person who is exceptionally intelligent or creative. And I love that add on, or creative, because man, that just opens it up. I think that most of us are living in a world where we do not consider ourselves geniuses. This is the domain of the people like Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla, Walt Disney, Elon Musk, Louise L. Hay. We are considering other people geniuses, people who have this amazing list of accomplishments and they have things to show for. They are phenomenal inventors or fantastic artists. Perhaps there is a Van Gogh. There are usually those kind of people that we then attribute and give them that title of, oh, and they are a genius. And not many of us actually give ourselves credit and say, you know what, that was a genius moment. Or, hey, guess what? I'm a genius when it comes to XYZ in my life. And for some people, that might be in how you're raising your children. For some people, that might be how you're creating your profession and how you're diving into your career and create something spectacular there. Or that you have a wonderful artistic ability, or that you're an excellent athlete. So these are the kind of things that I've been thinking about because I'm preparing myself for the workshop on the weekend, the master class that I'm doing on Zoom. And I want to give you guys a taste of that today. So have the opportunity, give yourself the ability to tap into your own genius. That's what this 45 minutes is about. That we are really going to play in this realm and tap into our own genius in a deeper way than you might have ever given yourself the opportunity to do before. So here's the NLP take on it. In NLP, the presupposition is that all the resources that all exist, that are available to everybody, are part of the universe. They are available, they are part of the program, they are part of the makeup, they're part of the blueprint that everybody has access to, which means that you already have access to genius and you have genius within. It is an inherent part of who you are and why you're here, and it's part of your makeup. So please take that. First of all, just take that right now and accept that and claim it, make it your own, and simply come from that point of view. Genius is already part of my blueprint. It is part of the possibility, if you want to use the law of attraction words for it, it is part of my vortex. It is part of my possibility, my probability, why I'm here, and what I can tap into. It's nothing you have to get out there. It's nothing you have to achieve. It's nothing you have to accomplish. It is simply something that is inherently yours, that you were conceived and born with. And every single person in this world, past, present, and future, has that. Ah, doesn't that feel nice? It is part of who you are. Genius, being in your genius, is part of who you are. And it's just a matter how much do you feel that you deserve to live in it? And how much then do you give yourself the opportunity to live in it? We all have moments of genius that we have exhibited in our lives. There were moments of incredible intelligence that you exhibited and you weren't even aware of. Or you might have had a little glimpse of it in that moment, going, you know what? That was an intelligent decision. Or, wow, I really tapped into my knowledge right now. Or, wow, I just explored some really beautiful wisdom here. I just exhibited some beautiful knowledge. And you were able to help someone who was in trouble or who was asking for information. And then all of a sudden you whipped out this beautiful sentence, or you were able to quote something. You came up with something that helped someone else. That is genius right there. You were being exceptional in that moment. You tapped into your own inner genius. You tapped into your own inner intelligence. That's another resource. Intelligence is just a resource. Resources are qualities, attributes that we have within us: love, beingness, oneness, gratitude, freedom, peace of mind, knowledge, compassion, and the list just goes on and on and on. And another two of those are intelligence and creativity. And exceptional means a very high exhibition of. We have all been exceptionally intelligent in certain parts of our life, and we've also been exceptionally creative at certain times in your life. And that's what I would like for you to walk away with this evening, that you can give yourself credit for that, that you can claim it, and that you make this part of your makeup. So that from now on you will have it more available to you. And that in those moments that you can give yourself credit for that. When you are saying something very beautiful that helps someone else, or you're bringing up some wonderful comparison or an analogy, or you're telling a story, you're bringing up a metaphor that then is useful for other people, and that you can go like, wow, that was pretty cool, right on, that just came up, I just did that. Okay, for some reason I want to tell that story that just happened. I just came home 20 minutes ago, and I'm having to drive down to the creek, and then the hill goes back up, and right as I'm coming around the corner and I'm coming to the creek where the bridge is, and I was deep in thought because I'm out processing what I'm going to talk about and all that, and this beautiful buck was standing right in front of me. Oh my God, he was so beautiful, big antlers, and he was a big boy, and he's just standing there in the street right there in front of me. And I was going slow anyway because it's very curvy, so I just stopped and I stood there, and I was in such awe. I just was in awe of admiring this beautiful creature. And he's standing there, and then finally he jumped over the railing, and then that ended him up on a little hill of sand. And then he stood there a few more seconds and looked at me again. And I just stood there, and I was hoping that no other car would come behind me. So I kind of paid attention, and I watched him, and I just enjoyed the moment. And you know what? I'm going to put that in the category of genius. It was an exceptional moment, and that just that connection with this beautiful creature, being able to have that experience right then and there, was in my book a genius moment. I didn't do anything special. I just had this enjoyment, and that perhaps that was my genius in that moment, that I allowed myself to enjoy the moment, and that I didn't have to rush by, or where's my camera, I need to take a picture, or anything like that. It was just this pure moment of like, thank you for this miracle, that I get to see this beautiful creature right here and then, right there, and he chose to spend a little time with me. So that's a genius moment right there. Easiest thing in the world. Having time with my grandkids. We did some cooking earlier together, and I let them cut some vegetables with their little kitty knives, and just being together and explaining to them, food safety and how you put a casserole together. And we made this casserole together, and it was just one of those beautiful moments. And you know what? I'm going to put that into the genius category. It was an exceptional moment. It was a moment of teaching. It was a moment of connecting. It was a moment of creating something together. And I'm just coming up with some simple miracles and things that happened today. Making my art. I love my art, my crafts, my paintings, and all the things that I generate every day. I'm doing something every day. I work a lot with paper, of course, with the kids. There's a lot of art happening with them. We made pumpkin patches today out of little tiny mini pumpkins, and we just used the leaves that we had collected, and some dried fruits and some nuts and some seeds, and we made little pumpkin patches. And those are little moments of genius. I know those are super, super tiny examples. You're like, oh, I thought we were talking about big inventions here and writing books and making movies and ta-ta-ta. No, you guys, it's the everyday stuff that I want to talk about. Those little moments of happiness and joy that we can have, that we can just, like a string of pearls, add one after another and turn it into these beautiful elements of happiness and enjoyment, saying, you know what, that was so much fun that we did that. And those are those creative moments. And that's why I love that the Webster definition actually includes the creativity, because in my perception up till now, it was about being exceptionally intelligent, inventive, a fantastic artist out of the ordinary. And just that idea that creativity is also considered genius makes my day completely. So I would like for you to think about those very simple things that you enjoy with yourself, with other people, things that you love to read, things that you love to watch, listen to. Perhaps you're a great dancer and you're able to move your body in ways that is just beautiful and gives you great enjoyment, is pleasing to other people. Perhaps you sing in a way that other people like. Perhaps it's the way that you express yourself with words. That you're a great orator. You can tell stories really well. You bring points across really well. Perhaps you're someone who soothes other people, someone who has great compassion, who has an open heart for others. People come to you because you're a good listener. You're a genius listener. So give yourself that right now. Like, yep, that's one of my genius. That's what I'm a genius at. This is one of my talents, one of my attributes, my resources that I'm really good at. And I want you to claim that. So let's go back in time and really collect memories and moments in your life so that you can put that into an anchor, we call that, where we're stacking the anchor by having memories after memories after memories. So one of the memories that came to my mind was when some friends of mine and I were creating a theater play when we were 6 years old. I believe it was in first grade that we did that. And we did it as a play that we then presented to our parents at school. And it was Cinderella. And what we did is we actually built in a bunch of little mistakes or Easter eggs that then the parents had to notice and write down, and then they got a prize and something like that. And just going back in my memory, sitting in my friend's yard, coming up with the idea, first of all, writing the script for the play itself, learning our lines, having all these different kids being the actress and actresses in that little play, and then coming up with all the different Easter eggs that we were going to put into the play. And just that creativity and that togetherness that we had as children to come up with all of that. And that was our idea. We made that happen as 6 years olds. And that was a stroke of genius. That was a moment of genius, of creativity and intelligence that we as a group exhibited to come up with the plan, to make it happen, to follow through with it, and then have an actual successful experience with it. And I remember how it was actually then happening at school and how there was the laughter of the parents and the surprises with the things that we had put into that were kind of interesting and that they then got to discover. And that was just a wonderful memory to tap into and go, oh yeah, that's true. We did that. How cool is that at 6 year olds? Right on. Or my little granddaughter, she puts on magic shows. And actually, I have this one video that is just so hilarious where she makes Clifford, the big red dog, disappear. And it's adorable how she does it because she has this cape. And then there is Clifford, you know, and then she puts the cape. And then her little sister is her assistant. And then you see in the video, of course, how the little sister, you know, she makes the dog come out of the cape and put it away. It's just adorable. Those little kids, she was 5 when she did that. And I have that on video. And every time I see it, I just laugh. I love it. I've shown it to a ton of people, and everybody laughs when you clearly see how her little sister is removing the puppy. I mean, it's just adorable. And that is a genius moment for that child. She puts on those acrobatic shows for us on her jungle gym that she has, you know, just things like that. And I would like for you to give that to yourself as well right now. Think about those times in your own life when you exhibited creativity and intellect in some way that was pleasing and enjoyment for yourself and for others. And I know you have it. I know everybody does. We all do. And we all have multiple. We all have a myriad of those stories. It might have been something artistic. It might have been something athletic. It might have been something that demanded an intellectual capability something academic. You created something that was meaningful, that had purpose. You had fun while you did it. And I think that's another component of genius, that you're really enjoying what you're doing. It does not compute with me too well to imagine that genius is something that you're dreading and that you're trudging through and not liking what you're doing. That does not make sense. That would not be in my category of genius. So think of the things that you truly enjoyed while you were doing them. And I know there are so many of those stories. And you can go back to being a small child, you can go back to being at school. And I know there were moments of genius. Okay, another memory that just came up is when our music teacher was really awesome, Frau Sacek. And we were a very small group. I think we were less than 10 people. And there were a lot of musicians in that class. We even had our little band. We had a cello. I played the saxophone. We had a drummer. We had a piano player. We made a lot of music when I was in high school. And a very, very small class because we were a model school and we were just the second grade in the whole school. So I was extremely lucky that I was at that school in my high school years. And there was this moment when we listened to the Bolero by Ravel. And she literally allowed us to lay on the tables, to lay on the floor, to find a place. The people who wanted to dance got to dance. We got to enjoy that 15-minute piece of music just the way we wanted to. And that is one of those pivotal moments in my life that I will never forget. Just laying on that table and just enjoying it, and this genius of Ravel and the simplicity of the melody, and then ultimately the melody just repeating itself over and over and over again. And by adding more and more instruments, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. It's brilliant. It is absolutely genius. And that's when we use those words usually, of creating that piece of music. And then what was going on in us as individuals as well as a group in experiencing and enjoying this piece of music. I was just getting a beautiful message from my translator in China, and she had mentioned that she went to Wagner and the Nibelungenring, and it's a story that is quite extensive, and if you are an opera lover, it's a long opera. It's actually multiple pieces. And so now she says she wants to learn German because she was so touched by the singing. Of course, it was in German, even in China. And she was just so touched by the lyrics and by the story. And just her, she left me like 5 messages, because you can only leave 1-minute messages on WeChat. And there is just this whole slew of messages just about the opera. And she really wants to talk with me about it and get my input on it. And of course, I grew up with it. And so that was just one of those moments where I'm like, wow, she was so touched by this beauty of that music, dum da da da, dum dum da da da, dum dum da da da, die Walküren, all that fun stuff, the dragon and all that. It's just phenomenal. So yeah, the genius of Wagner, who composed this incredible music and came up with the story, and of course it's an old German folk tale that he then put lyrics to and made into an opera. And then her genius of that enjoyment and diving into it and really giving yourself that experience, that is genius. So think about that for yourself as well, of just purely being in enjoyment. I talked with Sean the other day about one of the experiences that we had, that we got to see Howard Shore, who is the composer of the Lord of the Rings soundtrack for the trilogy. And they had a concert at Abravanel Hall in Salt Lake City, and they projected the movie in the background while the composer conducted his music. Wow, that was so insane. So give yourself that right now, when you were exposed to genius, when you activated your own genius, when you got to see it in your children, in your spouse, in your relatives, in your friends, at work. Work is such an incredible breeding ground for genius. How many times have you solved issues at work that were puzzling to other people? And you're like, oh, that's how you do it. Oh, immediately I have to think of Max. Anytime I'm going around on my computer, I can't figure this out. Takes him 2 minutes. He tips a few buttons, done. issue solved. And then he walks away. Oh, mom, why can't you do this? That's genius right there. That is an exceptional knowledge, an exceptional way of dealing with something, to me, puzzling, overwhelming. I don't want to have anything to do with it. And to him, it's like no big deal. Piece of cake. Let's get it done. And those are those moments that I know you have so many of. When you were able to solve a problem, or you might be a great puzzler. You might be really, really good at certain games. My sister is a genius when it comes to winning prizes. There are things that I've experienced simply because she has invited me along. Like the first time I got to go to Egypt was because she won it at a Christmas party, a 2-week, all expenses paid trip to Egypt. Who does that? That's amazing. And that's one of her geniuses, that she wins stuff. Really, really good. Her unconscious mind is tuned in with the price. Her energy matches the vibration of that which she is attracting. And that is genius. And you are doing it too. And I would say every day you have at least one little story of where you're doing that, where you're dialed in with your vortex, the wave function, that then through you as the catalyst manifests itself into actual particles and becomes a real, tangible reality. I wager to say that you have at least one experience a day. And when you really start thinking about it, how you can tap into that and that you can give yourself credit for that, it will change your life and it will give you more of a self-esteem and self-confidence and courage when you think about tackling issues in your life. That in those moments when it counts, that you do have exceptional intelligence and creativity. Okay, I'm having a lot of more memories coming up. This is funny because I got stuck in Las Vegas 2 years ago. So it was one of those 100-degree days, and my tire went flat. I had driven over a nail, and all of a sudden, whoop, I could feel my tire was completely flat. So I had to change my tire because I was in a neighborhood where there wasn't any foot traffic and there was no traffic going on anyway. It was a residential neighborhood and I couldn't phone anybody. I didn't know anybody. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to change this tire now. And I got the jack and I jacked up the car and I remembered that you have to put it in a certain place so you don't hurt your car. And ultimately I ended up changing the tire and those nuts did not come off easily. So I was working my butt off there in 100 degrees. And of course the car was not in a shady spot. It was in a nice sunny spot and I wasn't that grateful in that moment, I admit it. And I do give myself credit that I did figure it out in that moment. I know there are some people like, oh, come on, what's the big deal? Well, to me it was, and I haven't done it in 20 years. So I had to conjure up, my memory on like, how do you do it? I might have even Googled something about how to do it and what are the steps and whatever. The important thing is I figured it out. I was in a stressful situation. I was challenged with something and I figured it out and then I got away with it. I put on my donut tire and then found a tire shop. And within the next hour, I had my tire all pumped up, fixed, and back on my car. And it cost me like $25, I believe. They charged me. So that is a genius moment. And I give myself credit for that. It's a tiny little thing. And it took me intelligence in this moment. And it also took my creativity to figure it out and make it so. And not give up and sit there and whine and feel sorry for myself and wait for someone to come by to help me. So just a little example again. And I want you to give yourself acknowledgement and credit for having those moments a lot more than you actually think. And I would like for you to acknowledge that I am a genius. In my own way, in my own very individual, special way, I'm a genius. And so are you, and 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 everybody else in this world. And that's how we can stay out of ego. That's how we can accept our own specialness while we also honor everybody else's specialness. And that to me is what makes the universe so amazing. That ultimately we're all coming together and we're all one tiny little facet in this huge makeup, in this huge organism called the universe, and that we all have our very, very special, unique, individual contribution that we can make. Some of us are better singers, some of us are better speakers, some of us are better with their hands, some of us are better with their bodies, we're great athletes, some of us are better problem solvers, some of us have more compassion, some of us are really good problem solvers when it comes to technical things, others are more into intellectual things, others are more into the list just goes on and on and on. Are you feeling it? Yeah. I would like for you to really walk away from this meeting today in a heightened sense of giving yourself credit for who you truly are. Because ultimately, it's our conditioning, it's the way we grow up with the belief systems that are being installed in us when we're little children, up to 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. It's pretty much all set. That we then believe certain things about ourselves. Oh, I'm not good at this. Oh, I suck at that. Well, I'm really good at that. And I would like for you to give yourself that little bit more of a genius thinking, especially into your childhood. Imagine yourself as a little child, and that the people around you would say things like, wow, you're such a genius when it comes to whatever some of those talents are, those traits that you're special for, that you're special with. Give that to your parents right now, that they're able to say things like, the way you sing is so beautiful. You're really a genius at that. You have an exceptional ability. You have an exceptional creativity when it comes to singing. Or when you're drawing a picture, that someone will comment on that. Wow, look how beautiful it is. You're a genius at this. Do you know that? When you're doing something in sports and you're somehow excelling, give that to your parents right now, that they're saying those words to you, and actually use that word genius. You're a genius how you figured it out. You're a genius how you did that. Wow, look how you just did that. That was genius, right on. Being a problem solver, making a puzzle, figuring out something that you played with Lego and you put something cool together. Give it to your siblings as well, your cousins, your neighbor kids. Just imagine that right now, that all the adults around you guys are constantly affirming you guys. Give that to yourself, because you deserve it. You deserve to have access to this beautiful inherent quality of yours. Remember what I said in the beginning. It is an inherent quality. It is part of the universe. Therefore, you already have it within you. That is one of my favorite presuppositions in NLP, that we already have all the resources that we ever need within us. And by acknowledging that, then in those moments now and in the future, when you do need it, and when you do get into a moment of stress and you have to figure something out on the spot, or someone asks you to give a speech right there on the spot, or you have to face some stressful situation and need to tap into your intellect to figure it out. Any kind of problem solving, any kind of moments where you are being asked to bump it up, to become more creative, to tap into your intellect, you will now have it more available to you because you're imprinting your brain with that ability. Does that make sense? I'm going to give you a completely different example. I grew up with that belief that I was stiff. Physically, that I had a lot of stiffness in my joints, in my body. And then my parents sent me to ballet, and I also did a bunch of volleyball and other sports. We do a lot of what's called turnen, which is just general athletics where you run and you jump and you have to climb ropes and all kinds of stuff. And because of some baby imprints that I had, because I had to wear a very specific contraption when I was a baby because my hip had to get adjusted. And so I think I was a late crawler and walker. And for some reason, there was a belief that I had imprinted in myself that was about not being as flexible and athletic as other people. Well, then I came to America and I loved techno music and I loved to go dancing and I would go and then I would do my thing, flowing. When I listen to a beautiful beat, it's all about the beat for me. And then when you put some angelic music to it, I'm the happiest person on earth. And I was flowing and stuff. And then people would start making comments to me about, wow, you're so flexible and I love how you flow when you dance. And I would collect compliments like that over time. And that ultimately then became a resource that I then gave back to my inner child. I went back to the little baby and I gave her that. And I made peace with that part, that little baby that was laying there in her little cast and wasn't able to move. And probably she wanted to crawl and she couldn't at 6 months old. I think it was between 6 months and 1 year. And then I started crawling and walking. And there's a lot of pictures of me sitting there like that. And funny enough, I always had instruments in my hand at that time, little drums and little recorders and stuff. So it's very interesting to me to now think back to that time. I can do it with gratitude and peace and serenity versus feeling like the victim and poor me and why did this have to happen and why did I have that? And it just changes my relationship with my younger self, which then, of course, imprints in my brain. So now, from now on into the future, I have more flexibility available. And I'm just giving you that as an example, as a personal example, so that you can also use that for yourself and see what are some of the imprints that you had that when you were a little baby, when you were a little child, a little toddler, and what were the things that people said about you, and what were the stories that were told about you. And some of the stuff you might not remember actually, or remember it from pictures, or what the people, the adults around you told, because most of us don't remember being half a year old or 1, 2 years old. And still, you have stories that you're telling about yourself. Yes, you do. And I would like for you to think of some of those stories, especially when it comes to intelligence and creativity, and that you give yourself credit for the things that you have then done later on, and take that back in time and give that to the little you. Give that to the self that is a little baby. Give that to yourself that is a little toddler. Give it to yourself that is a school child. Preschool, school, into high school, becoming a young adult. Take it all the way up into now, into the present moment, and just put that timeline in front of you from the past into the future, and just let it become pervasive, imprinted into all parts of your life. I have all the resources that I ever need within me already. I am part of this universe. I'm a facet of this universe, and therefore the universe lives in me with everything that's available. Give yourself that right now, and give that to your inner child across the ages. And then give that to your mom and your dad, your biological parents. Give that to them as well, that they have that fully available. One of the things that is becoming extremely obvious in our conversation now is that a lot of people grow up without being affirmed that they are loved and hugging physical contact from their parents. And I talked with someone the other day about that, and she said, oh yeah, you know how our parents grew up. That just wasn't normal, that you're exhibiting a lot of love and you're hugging your kids a lot and you're cuddling with them and you're constantly telling them that you love them. That's just not how we grew up. And it was an American I talked with. I'm like, oh, it's not just in Germany, it's here as well. It's in a lot of cultures that kids were exposed to that. So give yourself that as well, if that was part of your upbringing, that you weren't affirmed verbally, that's part of your story perhaps, that you were a loner, or that you didn't have many friends, or that people ridiculed you, or that you were bullied. Give yourself that affirmation. And again, I'm bringing it back to the parents, constantly affirming you, even when you're getting bullied, even when people are making fun of you, of certain features that you might have. And then you can hear that little voice in the back of your head. and you got everything you need, and you're just beautiful the way you are, and you are a genius in your own right, and everything is going to turn out okay. We all need to hear that here and there, and some of us more often. So please give that to yourself right now. Go back in time and give that to yourself and also to your parents. That's where this started. Make sure that your parents get that from their parents as well, because just imagine how they grew up. Most of my clients are between 30 and 60 years old. So their parents are now between 60, 80. And those people grew up in a lot of hard stuff. They had a lot of hardship. They were during wars. Some of those people, actually, if you're older, your parents had to deal with the Great Depression. They were the children of people who dealt with the Great Depression. How many do we have there? Absolutely, everybody's affected by that somehow. The child of a veteran. Just imagine what these people have been through. And we're dealing with it right now in other parts of the world. How lucky are we that we're sitting here tonight? So open your heart to everybody right now and send some special love into those places where people are struggling. And let's include them as well. I went to a meditation the other day, and it was a guided meditation. It was a compassion meditation. And the first level was simply giving compassion to yourself. Open your heart, let the compassion flow in. The second level was to simply give compassion to the people around you that you love, that you have an easy relationship with, that you know love you. And it's all easy flowing between them and you. And you're just feeling that compassion for them. And then the third level was to send compassion to the people that you have a hard time with. Family members, community members, people you know personally, co-workers, anybody in your community you have a tough time with, send them the compassion, feel that beautiful flow back and forth, and then the whole world. And perhaps there are some of you who need to hear this right now because you are very worried about loved ones in other parts of the world. Your community is hurting. Yeah. So that's the difference that you can make right here, right now, being so far away from those places. And some of those things are happening right in your community. We all know about the things that are happening, the crime. I went to the fundraiser about child trafficking, helping those children, and I learned things that I wished I could unhear. Never had any idea that those things are actually happening right in front of us, ultimately. So, yeah, there's a lot to deal with. And just imagine flowing that compassion from you to everybody who is affected by any of that. And giving them their genius, allowing them to tap into their genius, their high, exceptional intellect, and their high, exceptional creativity, and their hope, their trust, their courage, their confidence, their deservingness and worthiness. Yeah, doesn't it feel wonderful? And that's the things that we can do. That is what we can do when we ask ourselves, well, I'm so far away from it, or I'm not involved in it, or I don't have any idea about it. And what can I do? Oh, I'm just one person. That's what I say. It's that space that we can hold for these people because we are all connected. We are all entangled. We are all in training each other. And when you are in your high vibration, when you are tapped into your vortex, when you acknowledge your own genius and you acknowledge your own creativity, and your intellect, your problem solver, your compassionate self, and so on and so on. And you walk into a room, you will affect other people. That is absolutely proven. That you will naturally entrain other people. And something I just got reminded of again a few days ago, a positive thought is much more powerful than a negative thought. A thought of love is much more powerful than a thought of hate. So please give yourself that. That every time that you meditate, that you pray, that you do anything that helps you to increase your vibration frequency and gets you into a place of love, that you are ultimately positively affecting the field in that very moment. And that's why it works when we pray for loved ones who are in trouble, that we pray for people who are sick, people who are dealing with issues, and you are truly giving yourself a moment of thinking about that person and wishing them well, that it has an effect. And that on some level, they will feel that. You have to give yourself that credit. The world needs us to do this. And the world needs us to believe this. Do your research on that. Look up the quantum field. Look up the double slit experiment. Look up the Kybalion. Look up hermetics, the law of attraction, NLP, quantum NLP, all these modalities. I'm following so many people on YouTube. Bruce Lipton is one of my favorites that I'm following because of what he's doing with epigenetics. Psychology has done quantum leaps in the last 10, 20 years. It's phenomenal, the stories that I now hear when people are talking about their experiences and how their therapists are helping them. I'm having a friendship with a person in Germany who is involved with the people who were touched by those floods that they had 3 years ago, and being able to help those people overcome this incredible hardship that they've had and losing loved ones in gruesome ways. There's so much good in the world, you guys. We just have to look for it, and we have to make ourselves part of it. We are part of the solution, not the problem. And that all starts with acknowledging your internal resources. And being a genius, having genius qualities is just one part of that. So that is my intent for this very specific gathering today. The last 2 times we talked about doubt. And I was thinking about if I should go a little deeper on that. And there will be a time definitely when I touch on that subject again, because again, that's one of those human conditions that we all deal with. And it's not that you're going to get rid of doubt, it's how you deal with it. You can deal with it in an exceptionally intelligent and creative way. Thank you, my lovely part that's doubting and that wants to make sure that all my bases are covered, that makes sure that I don't make any mistakes. Please go back and look at those videos. I have them on YouTube under Quantum NLP. I also have them right here on my wall. You can just scroll down. I post them in the groups that I'm leading. So you have availability of those. And then I did a conflict integration with those 2 parts, the part that knows and the part that doubts. And that is just one aspect of accepting all of those resources and knowing that somehow they serve you. And you can be a genius when it comes to that. And that's what I wish for you right now. I'm just going to send you that energy. And if you have any doubt about it, oh, not me, whatever she's talking about, I don't have any memories, I can't come up with any examples, nah, nah, nah. And you have this negative list, I would like to encourage you to turn that into your positive list. And to really start searching for those memories. And to allow yourself, just allow yourself in meditation and prayer to say, please show me those times. I didn't think about it consciously with that theater play. I didn't think about it consciously with those other examples that I gave you. I didn't make those up before I came up with the idea for this evening. That just happened as I was talking. I'm like, oh yeah, there was that. Or the video that Rai made and that magic presentation and that stuff. That just came up naturally because I was immersed in the subject matter. Does that make sense? By immersing yourself, by marinating in the subject, you will come up with the ideas. Right now, it's about allowing it to flow with it and give it the space to flourish. It's your internal dialogue that squishes it all. Oh, I can't do it. Oh, I'm dumb. Oh, I'm not that type of person. Da, 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 da. And you have that list. I know we all do. And it's about how we engage with that list. It's not that you're not going to have the list anymore. It's just how you deal with it. That's your genius. Ah, that I like that a lot, actually. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up because I still have some fun stuff to do this evening. I'm watching a fun little video series. Of course, I'm watching Avatar again, The Last Airbender. Love it. The people were geniuses who made that. I'm doing my little crafts. I love to work with my little miniature landscapes. I just bought myself a cute little pier for a little ocean landscape that I'm going to work with. And that's how I love to work with my genius and my creativity to just be in that flow. And while I'm exposing myself to some really cool audio visual, I like to craft. And then I'm going to read some cool stuff. I have my new dragon book. I got my lovely new journal. I have my little positive affirmation journal that I have under my bed that I look at every morning and every evening. And I'm just thumbing through. I've shown it to you before, and it has wonderful, sparkly um, dividers. I love those. I love my sparkly dividers. Sparkle. Yeah. These are the things that I'm currently working on. So I hope that all of this gives you lots of ideas. It gives you motivation. It gives you inspiration. That you also allow yourself to tap into your own inner genius. And for those of you who want a lot more of that, please join me on Saturday between 9 and 12 o'clock Mountain Standard Time live on Zoom. And you can you can be part of our student core, or you can also get the recording afterwards. So definitely send me a message if you're interested. And also I have the event posted on Facebook. And you can always go back in time and look on my wall. I have a seminar ultimately every 2 weeks on Tuesday evening. You can find one, and I also post them on YouTube. Then I have multiple 100 videos on YouTube as well at Quantum NLP. You just type that in and there it is, okay? So I hope that you're really motivated and that you're inspired about your inner genius right now, and that you're going to find many fun and interesting ways of exhibiting it, and especially in those moments of stress, that you are able to tap into your genius right away, that you're not playing the victim, that you're not going into the downward spiral of, oh, I can't do this, and oh, it's not going to work, and I don't have the ability to do it, that your mind immediately kicks in with, oh, I do have all the resources that I ever need, and it's just a matter of activating it. And right now, I choose to be in my genius. Okay? Handshake on that. Got a commitment from you. Practice it. The more you practice it, the better you're going to get at it. All right, my friends, I'm glad I chose this for tonight, and I'm so happy that I got to spend some quality time with you. And please, please take what you learned today and put it into practical application. That's always my greatest wish for anything that I'm teaching. Okay, my friends? And with that, I wish you a wonderful rest of the day, and I'm going to see you back here in 2 weeks. Bye.